Hello, YouTube. Welcome to my channel, Unique Sports Talk. Listen, this is a follow up to the $20 million lawsuit that was filed against Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco, and I guess Shay Shay as well, the company by Gemelita Tillman. She was a chick, who was flaunting her stuff with Usher at a concert, something that, was her right to do. But the suit was mainly about them claiming that she was a married woman when she wasn't, and spreading the fact that her husband, which she didn't have, is going to divorce her. Now, her claim was that ruined some business and other opportunities for her, that defamation. And it sounds silly on the surface, and it is silly on the surface. It's a frivolous lawsuit because everybody on the internet was saying it. But since Shannon Sharp has such a big reach, she just looked for the person with the most money to claim that she had a case against. And it scared Shannon Sharp because he actually settled the case. Now we don't know how much he settled it for. She surely didn't get the bag like the OnlyFans chick. But one of the things I thought about was, did she really have a case? And in my previous video on this subject, I pulled from some information from the lead attorney, and I'm gonna go back to the chart of things that you have to prove to get this defamation. So, but first, like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And you might ask, why is this on a sports channel? Well, shit, these are sports figures, right? And sports intersects with everything else. So I decided to put this on this particular channel. Shannon Sharp, he's dropped a lot of sports bags by these lawsuits. And the last thing he wanted to do was have another lawsuit lingering because the sharks are circling. We're going to find out every woman that thinks they might have a case against Shannon Sharp is going to try to file one. She'll get some sleaze bag lawyer and some idiot judge to actually put the case out there. And so he might not be done, but he got rid of this case, and we could speculate on how much she got. But first, let's go see. I'm gonna put up the 5 things that the lead attorney says that she would have to prove that Shannon Sharp violated in order to get a defamation suit passed. Now, I didn't agree with his list, but you could always go to the lead attorney's website and his page and listen to what he says, because he actually had good explanations for each one of these things. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and look at it. Where's the lead attorney? Here it is. All right. So, I'm not going to play this, but we could read this right on the screen, right? I'm sure you can see it. And so these are the 5 elements that have to be true, that have to be proven for her to have a defamation suit. The identity, right? She has to prove that they were talking about her. Okay, that one is easy, right? The second one is a publication. This statement must be published, meaning a third party must have seen or read or reheard it. They're on social media, so they spread it out. Negligence, right? She must prove the statement was made with reckless disregard for the truth or negligently. Now, maybe she can't prove the reckless disregard for the truth, but she probably could prove that they were negligent because a simple search could have found out that she wasn't married. A simple search could have found out that she was a single woman, even if she was married before. She wasn't married at the time of her flirtation with Usher. No matter how ratchet it might have looked up there on the stage, she's a grown woman. She could do those things. So the whole notion of spreading around that she was married, a cheater, an adulterer, right? A would-be adulterer, just because she was out for a night and embarrassing her husband and that forced him to divorce her. Well, if you're spreading that around, now the question is how much hurt would it really do her, right? So she must prove that the statement was false. Well, she could prove that. That's easy. And then finally, she has to prove, okay, that the statement caused her some material or reputational injury. And then with that one, you have to prove not only the injury, but to get the big bucks, you have to also prove, I guess, in there that there's some punitive factors that will, weigh on what kind of retribution you should be able to get back, right? And the person, I mean, bottom line, she's a fairly, she's a middle class woman, and we could probably debate whether if she was married and was out for a flirtatious rant against her husband, stopped her from getting a couple of deals or whatever. But it was a stigma. It is a stigma on her name, right? And her character, at the very least. Did it cost her a lot? We probably could have been able to, argue that shit in court. So, so that's what that might be. So, but those 5 things was faced with Shannon Sharp, and if he would have went to trial on this thing, he could have won, but he could have lost. Now, will she get $20 million? Absolutely not. She wasn't going to get $20 million. However, she was, she could have won. And then, of course, now it would be up to a jury or somebody else to determine how much it was. Now, how much do we think that she won on this case? That's really is. How much did she really win? I heard some numbers. People think she only got a few $100,000. I don't think that's true. I don't think that. I think that as a minimum, Shannon Sharp probably peeled off $1 million as a minimum. I think it started there. If not, maybe 2. But he peeled off $1 million. Nobody's going to go through all this shit just to get a couple $100,000. I don't believe it. Right? She hired a lawyer. She went after him. Just all that stuff might have been up to a couple $100,000 already. I don't know how much, maybe a little less, right? Because there was no real fanfare. They started to negotiate right away. As soon as he got this shit, he started to negotiate this shit away. So the lawyer's fee probably wasn't that much. But the truth of the matter is, it probably was one of those kind of pro bono cases where, the lawyers, not pro bono, whatever they call it, the lawyer puts up the money and he gets 1/3. So let me tell you, this thing had to be at least $1 million. And I was just to make it sweet, I would say at least 1.5. And so she got a good piece of chunk, man. She got a good piece of change for being, to be in a 304 at a concert, looking, a potential. But as a single woman, she's free to do what the hell she wants to do. If she wants to buck up and look all sexy in front of a strange man who's a celebrity, who's going to stop her? Who's going to check me, boo? That kind of shit. So like I said, there was nothing really wrong with what she did. But if you say that she was married and got a divorce coming, then, you lit the fire, So, and almost everybody believed it right off rip. And then Shannon and his guys and Ocho spreading that shit. Well, it stuck. It stuck hard. So she got rich. I'll say rich. She got a nice chunk of change for just being smart enough to bring this lawsuit up when the guy is bleeding profusely from another lawsuit that cost him almost $30 million. So there you have it. So I just want to put that out there to put a little bow on the fact that we talked about this 2 weeks ago. And so he's out of this one. We probably won't hear too much more of this. Everything is disclosed. I mean, it's under NDA and all that kind of stuff. There's not going to disclose the settlement amount unless he says so. And so I doubt if he will. And so with that, we'll kind of end this one. Our Pain, Unique Sports Talk, over and out.